Good morning. I hope it is working. Had some troubles this morning with OBS. It's still showing muted. I don't know how any of this works. Let me see something. One sec. Hello. Oh, I get it. Sec. Hello. Sorry about that. Alright, this is Premarket Wake Up. My name's Frank. This is No More Paper Trading, where we are trying to move away from paper trading and making real money. To be traders as a career, not YouTubers, not salesmen, not teachers, not mentors. I would be happy to be a teacher and a mentor for free. I don't know if anyone would want that. I'm not exactly making millions, but I might know a little bit more than somebody just starting out. And plus, the final step in actually learning something is teaching it. Your mind doesn't really remember it until you start teaching it. That is just one of the small reasons why I started this. Among others. A link to our community Discord is in the description. We have 2 people right now, 3 including me, but I think those other 2 are bots. So as of now, I do this for myself. I hope to get a small audience one day, a community more, that I could build upon and work with. I trade mostly futures. I do trade ETFs on the stock market and the occasional stock, but I don't have a huge strategy for that. That's usually one of those rare occasions where you get a really good idea or you see a real life example of a company adding value and you take advantage of it. Anyway, as I go live, there's no news release at 8:30. Tomorrow there is. Tomorrow there's quite a lot right at 8:30. I will talk about that tomorrow and later on today a bit. I will also talk about today's news later, which is just a revision on non-farm payrolls. It could be major because the last few times the revision has been major. Don't know how you mess up that bad. But then again, it is government, so par for the course. Alright, let's take a look at overnight moves in the equities and gold and oil. On the ES, or the MES, which is what I trade, overnight, back and forth mostly. We came back to hit off of yesterday's 9:30 open at 65.04. Barely stopped at yesterday's close. I had a okay trade here. Bad execution. I think luck. Luck saved me. But it was just as I was trying to go to bed, but I saw an opportunity. I don't know why I decided to do it. It was a bad move. I'll just go over it real quick. That way I don't have to do it later. I didn't make any other trades yesterday. But to me, I thought it would be a pretty good chance that price would bounce off of yesterday's opening range high, which is this green line. As it did here a little bit. And I had originally put my stop right under previous day's close. But as I saw price break it, I moved my stop to below the open, which thankfully it stopped at. It's usually a bad idea to move your stops. It's not wise, because who's to say you just won't keep moving them? I've done that before. But usually now that I'm a bit more disciplined, I move it once, maybe twice, depending on price action, and then at some point just accept the loss. Where I went bad was I moved my profit target down too, because I wanted to go to bed. And I didn't, if I was watching it and price came within a tick of the profit target, obviously you would see that if you're watching it and quick take profit. And I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want, because it has happened to me in the past. I go to bed, wake up and find I lost a trade and price came within 0.5 of the profit target. So I didn't want that to happen in the overnight while I was sleeping. A little $40 profit. After that, price did bounce off of the opening range high. Broke through yesterday's high and stopped right at previous month's high. Pretty sure it's previous month's high. Yes, it is. Rejected it pretty sharply. But now I think we are going to make another try at it. Probably not before the open. I'll talk about the open a little later and what the day holds. NQ. The NQ did stop at yesterday's close. Did not quite make it to yesterday's opening, 9:30 opening. And instead of bouncing off of previous month's high, which is up here, bounced off of yesterday's opening range high. Here we go with the yawning again. I don't know what it is. As soon as I start streaming, I start yawning. And because I did it yesterday, my mind thinks about it today, and I do it today. I don't really have a method of dealing with that. I just think it will go away eventually. And then NASDAQ did rejected previous day's high. Almost exactly, but not quite. Russell. That's kind of strange. Russell ignoring almost previous month's high. Let me make sure I have that right. Yeah, that's previous month's high. Ignored it most of the night until now. volume was quite low. Whenever I see that, it always makes me think that I'm on the wrong contract. Let me see. No, absolutely not. Why does it show that? That must be new. I don't like that, but minor things. It's because I put too many lines on the chart. I think the Russell futures they're kind of new. I know the micro Russells are very new, but overall that might be why there's not a whole lot of overnight volume. As you can see, a lot of candles, there's gaps. I would probably stay away from trading the overnight Russell. I don't think I ever really have traded it in the overnight. But price came up, hit yesterday's high almost perfectly. Seems like every one of them attempted to break through a high, whether a monthly high or a daily high, last night, and rejected it, but did not get enough sellers to take price further down. All right, the Dow. Almost looks like the Dow has more volume overnight than the Russell. So I always wonder, there's times when you look at the chart and you see large and quick movements in price, but not always an uptick in volume. Perhaps I'm thinking about it too much, but would that just be large buyers taking over the market, or sellers taking over the market, large players, rather than large amounts of them? I don't know. If you have any theories, let me know. Massive audience of 0. The Dow doesn't quite have the same upward slant as the other indices this morning. See the ES slight upward, NASDAQ slightly upward. Russell not so much, but at least the Russell made an attempt. The Dow kind of made an attempt, but not really. I'll go over it later, but the Dow is stuck in a channel. I'd like to trade it more, but there's just too many. There's not enough me and too many products to trade. But we are right now coming back to last month's close. I don't think we're going to bounce off it. I think we're going to continue this dance because we're stuck in this area. And gold keeps making these almost record highs. Actually, I think they are record highs. way overextended, but it just keeps going and going. I'll go over that a little bit later after the news. But gold went up here, came back for a pullback at yesterday's close, came back for another pullback at yesterday's high, couldn't get past, well, I just marked that spot, but that would be an arbitrary area unless you do Fibonacci, which I don't. I might get to know it more, but my charts are crowded as it is. But this is a perfect use case for RSI, as you can see. I'll try to zoom in a bit. Also, if anyone does ever watch this or is watching, let me know if you can't see some of these indicators or chart anything on my charts. When I re-watch the streams, it looks to me like it's fine, but I don't know. I can't test everything. But as you can see here in gold, the first time we're coming higher here, RSI is still reaching up a bit higher than here, than earlier. And then the second time we're up here, it's actually lower. So price is higher, but strength is lower. That could be a sign it's about to reverse. I often use that along with watching price action. And another great confirmation would be if there was a key level up here. Now there is, but there wasn't when it was up there before. But as of now, we are just dancing around yesterday's high. Perched right on it. All right, oil. Oil did not waste any time pulling back to yesterday's close. Continued a steady rise up to yesterday's opening range high. Danced around it, got back into this swamp area, which I talked about the last few days. This whole area is just a magnet, constant magnet for price. I do think there's some government somewhere, maybe it's OPEC, maybe it's the US or China, but they want oil to be around here. And I don't know why I don't trade that. I have gotten a couple of them in, but I should be trading this more. Of course, the moment I start trading it is the moment price stops doing that. But then again, you have to figure out when is it going to come back to it. I'll look at that more later, if I remember. But that is fascinating. That gold is just in this channel. Not gold, oil. All right, let's take a look at the overnight VIX. I forgot to do that entirely yesterday. I used to have, I forget what it was. One of the bonds futures that was non-correlated to the ES. I used to know the exact reason why it was non-correlated or why why I would watch it, but it must have not given me much value because I don't anymore. Where are we? Right here is the VIX. Gap down slightly. And then slowly rose very slightly throughout the night. The dollar pretty much nothing going on there. Zigzagging pretty good, but this large increase in volume here at 6:15. Could have been somebody major deciding to buy in at that level. I say this every day, but I say it again. I want to learn more about how that affects other futures. The dollar, the value of the dollar. I understand VIX. VIX is non-correlated. When VIX is very high, the market's usually crashing. And you can often see a recovery or a mean reversion in the VIX. You see that before price stabilizes in the ES. And there have been a couple trades where I've seen that and taken advantage of it. But it is kind of rare. As you can see, this is a daily VIX chart. You don't get insane movements. Even Friday, was that Friday? What was the day where we crashed pretty good? Was that last Tuesday? I thought it was Friday. It was Friday. Yeah. So right there, you can see the value of VIX. I'm thinking that in real time when this was happening on Friday, I'm thinking VIX is way up. But you look relative to other times where we've had quick bear runs. Doesn't even compare. We're still trending down in the VIX. Doesn't even compare to that Tuesday of that week. So a very good sign that it was not a lot of sellers getting in. It was more so people taking profits, as we had just made an all-time high. And I know in the moment it seems major, but then looking back, it's not that bad. All right, let's check out some of the news going on today. I use fxstreet.com. I don't trade FX, but they have a great calendar, easy to read, clear. And at 10 a.m. we have a revision to non-farm payrolls. Let's read what they have to say about it. Markets widely expect the Fed to lower the policy rate. Yeah, no kidding. Multiple times this year. Standard charted analysis think the Fed could opt for a 50 basis point BPS, 50 basis point, what does the S stand for? Rate cut next week. I don't know about a 50. So now they're in a tricky situation. If they don't do a 50, you're going to maybe see some correction in the markets. But what's strange is on the FedWatch tool, let me bring that up quick. If you don't know, the FedWatch tools, CME Group puts it out. You can trade these contracts. I don't know how, and I don't know much about it, but this is how they gather this information. This is based off of how people are trading the probability of a rate cut on the probability of a rate cut. I think it was, I don't know how many years ago, but the popularity of contracts like that grew. I forget the name of the site. I tried it for a little bit, where you could trade on the probability of it raining in San Francisco on Tuesday. Just a basic yes-no contract. I believe this is the same concept. We have, I mean, this is reversed now. We are current 425, 450. So this does not show half a point. I guess it could be up to half a point. So they don't do exact, they do ranges. But the last time I viewed this, it didn't even have this. All it had was 4 to 4.25 and unchanged, 4.25 to 4.5. I guess things have changed. In October, they're calling for, this would be stay the same. This would be another cut. That's gone up since the last time I looked at it. But anyway, the non-farm payrolls revision will be today. I block it out. I make sure I don't trade anywhere near 10. I usually do 10 minutes on either side. It's good enough. Later this week we have PPI tomorrow at 8:30. I'll talk about that more tomorrow. And CPI on Thursday. Monthly budget statement. Is that the government budget? I guess. Or the Fed budget? Yeah. Reserve Bank budget. Friday we have Michigan Consumer Sentiment. I gotta double check, but I think this Friday is contract rollover for MES, M&Q, M2K, MYM. That's it. Well, let me double check that quick. I know it's dumb to ask AI, but asking Google anything anymore is worthless. $9.15 they have listed. So by Monday, we'll be on a new contract just in time for FOMC. Which I think is on Thursday. It's on the 17th. Wednesday. I think it's always on a Wednesday. I will probably not trade at all that day. I don't know what I did. I will not trade at all that day. I will watch, because I have other positions with ETFs that if we take a nosedive, I would be concerned for. All right, let's take a quick look at key levels for the day, as quick as I can be. So for the ES, looks like we're again coming down to opening range high from yesterday. My opening range is set to 10 a.m. Pretty sure. Yeah, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Some people do 5-minute, some people do 15-minute. I think 30-minute, as you can see, is respected pretty well. If we head higher, definitely look out for previous month's high. Likely to hold up there. Maybe bounce between previous day's high at 65.16 and previous month's high at 65.23. If we head lower, we got to get through yesterday's close at 65.06, and then beyond that, maybe, yeah, I could see us, even though it's very close to yesterday's close, but the yesterday's 9:30 open, because the overnight hit it, that could be important. Then beyond that, if we get down there, yesterday's low at 64.80, and then below that, previous month's close at 64.72. All right, NQ. Well, let's take a quick look at the ES daily though, just to have a different viewpoint on it. This was Friday, where we made a new all-time high, and then immediately a lot of people took profits. What was strange about it was, well, I guess that's not strange, but we passed right through previous month's close, which was also previous week's close. Kind of stopped in the middle of nowhere, I would say. And we've been recovering since. Other people spotted it before I did, that it wasn't going to last. I saw some on TradingView saying, you know, this isn't a bear rally. All right, NQ. We have the daily here. But on the NQ, if we head up, we're looking at yesterday's high at 23,888, which is very close to current month high at 23,902. If we get above that, you'd be looking at, I'm going to say this general area here. It's last month's pivot point at 23,947, but probably hitch up there for a bit. If we head lower, we got to get through previous day's close, which we are very close to right now, as you can see on the 5-minute. But we have to get through yesterday's close, yesterday's open, yesterday's opening range low. I tend to stop watching these as the market opens. Well, I watch them, but I don't trade off them. I don't consider them important enough to add confirmation to my trades. Below that, we have yesterday's low at 23,650. So when I say these numbers, I'm just getting a general area. I do put them at the exact spot, but what does a quarter of a point? A tick. What does a tick matter? And then below that, we have this area of resistance or support. And then below that, previous month's close. I don't know if we'll get down there today. On the Russell, breaking lower as we speak. Let's take a look at the daily just to have a look. If we turn back around, you have previous month's high at 23.98 and previous day's high, yesterday's high at 24.04. If we head lower, see, I don't usually mark. This is the open at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when futures open. No, it's not. Wait, hold on. Yeah. Yes, it was. Okay. Just making sure. There's constant errors with all this junk on the charts. I often forget to look at RSI on the daily, but it can be very informative. We're a little bit lower than yesterday so far. But relative to, that could be telling. So on the 22nd of August, we had more strength at a lower price than we have right now at a higher price. That could mean we need to come back, build more buyers. I'm also sure a lot of people are just waiting till next week. A lot of the longer term traders who really pile on the market and make large movements. You're just going to have a lot of retail scalping or trading intraday. All right, let's take a look at the Dow. So this morning or earlier, I kind of mentioned this channel we're stuck in with the Dow. I don't know if you can see that. I don't really know what to make of that, except to trade off those areas. You might see the Dow break that upper channel next week with the rate cut. But again, I don't see that happening before then. It might, but it's not in the charts right now. Now for today, you can see that we just continue to linger around previous month's close. Can't decide what to do here. Not the best trading environment until we choose a direction. If we go higher, then we have that upper part of the channel, which starts with some resistance around 45,760. But the real resistance is at 45,830 in that general area, where we have previous month's high, current month high, and that line I just made. If we head lower, we are looking at not much until we get down to yesterday's low at 45,322. And beyond that, not much. But lots of resistance, but I don't see us getting there today. All right, gold. Gold has been making new highs over and over. I think they're all-time highs. I don't know if we'll see that slow. Gold can be tricky like that. If it's deciding it wants to go up and keep going up, it will. On the daily, we have already heading higher in the overnight. And strength is increasing with it. Right now, I see no reason why gold would break below yesterday's low. We might break lower to find more buyers. I'd say those buyers would probably be at this pivot point at 3662.6. But there's a good chance we're just going to bounce as we just did off of yesterday's high. In the overnight, price definitely like to be above it. I don't know if I would take that trade. If we came back down again after the open, I might consider that. But who knows where it would stop. It might come down to the close. It might go all the way down to the pivot point. I'd have to watch it constantly. See, that is always the conundrum. You might get a good opportunity at a good trade, but you can't. You can try to watch a lot of markets at once, but it's difficult because you have to observe the price action, see the subtle differences in how price moves at different areas. There's times when I can just watch the price movements and know who's in control. Sometimes it switches every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes. And other times it lasts all day in that way. Even if you don't get like what some people call one-time framing higher, even if you don't get really huge trends, you will see that just buyers just keep getting in, or sellers just keep getting in and taking control. And I really don't know how to explain that, besides you just gotta know it. You just gotta look and watch. And it's not an exact science. Bringing that back around, you could watch gold as it comes down, if it comes down. If you're watching it constantly, the price action might tell you where it's going to pivot on. The high, the close, or the pivot point. But if I'm just going through the different markets trying to find trades, I'll likely miss it, or I'll just take a trade even though I shouldn't. Guess I'll just try to wait for the obvious ones. Alright, oil. I wonder if news came out about oil. I tend to miss it sometimes. No. It's just volume picking up for... Maybe there's something happening. But at 9, as you can see, huge increase. Volume in buyers. Maybe conflict somewhere. The last news I see is about China absorbing excess oil supplies. That could be it. Is that the Chinese close at 9 a.m.? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm working on an indicator that'll show that on my chart. So I could see, oh, the close is in 10-15 minutes, so that's just a whole bunch of traders in China getting in and doing this. But I think they closed some time ago, maybe. I don't know. But oil has this constant mess right here between 63.35 and 62.96 general area. It acts as a magnet constantly over the past, since the beginning of August. I think there's price control going on. Somebody who follows oil more might be able to tell you exactly what it is. But you will see that price often returns there. Here it is on the daily. This is that same area right in here. Price will go above, come back. Comes down, comes back. And I mean, I wish I would have seen that on Friday. Perfect trade. Would have been right here. A buy. Now that we're at this key area again, I might watch for where it's going to break out, which way. I might ride it to its other end, away from that area again. But price could just zigzag right through it, back and forth for the whole day. I don't know. If we get beyond that mess, you have previous month's close at 60, almost 64 even. Below that, if we head lower, we have yesterday's close at 62.26. That's about it for oil. Take a look at the... No, there's no point in looking at the VIX for the day. Never mind that. Alright, I'll end the day real quick with... I want to explain a time where... I think it was last year. Might have been last year. It was a time I was convinced constantly that the market was going to crash. The market was going to crash. I think it might have been the end of 23. No. No, it might have been... Yeah. Okay, so it was like May, June, July last year. I was convinced all in here that the market was going to crash because to me everything looked like it was. And I just want to speak about that, the problems with the human psyche, where we convince ourselves something's going to happen because we want it to happen so bad. I had placed constant shorts on a lot of different things in here, trying to catch the top over and over. And I would search out bad news and convince myself. And I knew it. I knew I was doing it in real time, and I just kept doing it. And then I would get stuck in StockTwits. I don't like that site. It's just silly to me. Well, it's not silly to me. I did it myself. The market will go up, and then a lot of people with the bull symbol by their name. I don't know if you've ever used StockTwits, but it's weird. They'll be bull, and then they'll be like, haha, in your face, bear people. You're wrong, you're an idiot. It's just very strange. It's like Twitter, but for stock market idiots. And I would count those people. I would count, oh, there's like 6 bearish people in a row. That means the market's going to go down right now. It just feeds into this terrible loop. It's not fun. But I learned from that to be very careful about convincing myself the market's going to go one way or another, because I did some research. Everything has caveats. Everything has doubts. All your choices should have doubts. Never convince yourself it's going to go one way or the other. I mean, that's the whole point of putting in a stop. It's all about probability. Just get probability on your side. Win more times than you lose, or make more money when you win than when you lose. Sounds simple, but it's not. All right, I'll end on that. Link to the Discord is in the description. Don't sell anything. Never plan on it. Join if you like. We've got myself as a member right now, and 2 possible bots, plus the bots I added to moderate. I would hope to grow it over time. And that's it. My name's Frank. Have a safe day. Goodbye.